A dirty kid walked into the most exclusive bank in the city. "I just want to check my balance." The morning sun reflected off the glass. Towers of Manhattan's financial district, casting golden light on a world that Marcus had only ever seen from the outside. At 12 years old, he had learned that there were two types of people in this city. Those who belonged in buildings like these, and those who cleaned them. After everyone else went home, today, for the first time in his life, Marcus was about to cross that invisible line. His sneakers, 2 sizes too big and held together with duct tape, squeaked against the marble floor as he pushed through the heavy, revolving doors of Blackwell and Associates. Private banking, the blast of air conditioning hit him like a wall, so different from the summer heat outside, where he'd spent the last 3 hours working up the courage to enter. The lobby was unlike anything Marcus had ever seen. Marble columns stretched 30 feet high, supporting a ceiling decorated with what looked like real gold. Crystal chandeliers, each probably worth more than his entire neighborhood, cast a warm glow over leather furniture that seemed too perfect to actually sit on. Everything smelled expensive, a mixture of fresh flowers, polished wood, and something else he couldn't quite identify. Money, maybe success, belonging, things he'd never known. Marcus clutched the worn envelope in his pocket, feeling the edge of the bank card inside. His fingers were dirty. There hadn't been running water in his building for 3 days, and he was acutely aware of the smudge of dirt on his face that he'd tried and failed to wash off at a public fountain that morning. "May I help you?" The voice came from a woman behind a sleek reception desk. She was looking at him the way people in this part of the city always looked at him, like he was something unpleasant that had accidentally wandered in from the street. Marcus's voice came out as a whisper. He cleared his throat and tried again. "I need to check my balance." The woman's perfectly painted eyebrows rose slightly. "I'm sorry, young man, but this is a private banking institution. Do you have an account here?" Marcus simply nodded, his hand tightening around the envelope. Before the receptionist could respond, a booming laugh echoed across the marble expanse. Well, what do we have here? Lost your way to the lemonade stand, son?" A man in an impeccably tailored suit, his hair silver and perfectly combed, strode over. He was followed by 2 junior associates who wore matching smirks. This was Reginald Vance, a senior vice president at Blackwell, a man who measured his worth in 9 figures and his compassion in negative integers. "He says he has an account with us." "Mr. Vance," the receptionist said, her tone dripping with polite disbelief. Reginald Vance looked Marcus up and down, taking in the frayed cuffs, the duct tape, the unmistakable aura of poverty. He burst into laughter again, a sound that was rich, condescending, and meant to carry. "I suppose you're here to make a hefty withdrawal, then? Planning to buy a new bicycle?" His associates chuckled on cue. Marcus felt his face grow hot. He wanted to run, to melt into the marble. But the memory of his mother's tired eyes and the instructions on the envelope kept him rooted. "I just want to check my balance," he whispered, his voice barely audible. "Oh, by all means," Vance declared, his eyes twinkling with cruel amusement. "Let's not keep the young mogul waiting. Bring him to Terminal 3. Let's see this fortune." He gestured grandly toward a private banking kiosk, a sleek monitor and keyboard nestled in a walnut pod. It was clear he was staging a spectacle for his own entertainment. Marcus shuffled toward the terminal, the eyes of the lobby upon him. He could feel the disdain, the curiosity, the pity. He pulled out the envelope and extracted a simple, unmarked black card. It had arrived in the mail 3 days ago, along with a single typed line, "For Marcus. Your legacy, use wisely." No return address. His mother, working her 3rd shift that week, had told him to check it out, her voice a mix of hope and exhaustion. Vance plucked the card from Marcus's fingers before he could insert it. No name. No insignia. Quite mysterious. He handed it back with a flourish. "Go on, then. Let's see the magic number." Marcus inserted the card, his heart hammering against his ribs. The screen asked for a PIN. He typed in his birthday, 7/2. The system hesitated for a moment, the cursor blinking. Then the screen went dark. Vance's smile widened. A glitch. Or perhaps the cards from a cereal box. But then the screen lit up, not with numbers at first, but with a simple, elegant logo, a single, ancient-looking key. And then text began to scroll line by line. Account holder Marcus Elijah Thorne. Account number Zesur01. Account type Legacy Trust. Current balance. Now the number began to populate. It started with a 1, then zeros followed. 1 0, 2 zeros, 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. The digits kept coming, filling the field, a staggering, impossible string of numerals. Reginald Vance's laughter died in his throat. His smile didn't just fade. It froze, then shattered. His face drained of all color, turning a sickly gray. His jaw went slack. One of his associates gasped aloud. The number on the screen was 147 203 57, over $1 billion. The silence in the lobby was absolute, profound, broken only by the distant hum of the climate control. Marcus stared at the number, his mind unable to process it. It was just a string of digits. It meant nothing. But the reaction of the man next to him told him everything. Vance was staring, his eyes wide with a primal mixture of terror, awe and utter catastrophic recognition. He knew what that account number meant, 0001. The first account. The Founder's Trust. The myth whispered among the highest echelons of Blackwell and Associates. A trust so vast, so secret, it was said to underpin the entire institution, and it belonged to a dirty kid in duct-taped shoes. Vance slowly, mechanically turned his head to look at Marcus. The boy looked back confused, still holding the worn envelope. In that moment, the universe of Blackwell and Associates tilted on its axis. The morning sun, still glinting off the towers outside, now seemed to be shining solely for the child who had just become, irrevocably, the most important person in the room. Reginald Vance's mind, usually a sharp instrument calibrated for arbitrage and advantage, short-circuited. The number on the screen wasn't just wealth. It was power of a kind that could vaporize his career, his reputation, his entire world with a single whim. The boy, Marcus, was still staring at the screen, his brow furrowed in incomprehension. Is that good? Marcus's voice, small and uncertain, cut through the petrified silence. It was the question that finally broke the spell, sending a violent tremor through Vance's body. He stumbled back a step, his hand flying to his chest as if to calm a runaway heart. The two associates were statues, their earlier smirks replaced by masks of pure shock. The receptionist had risen from her chair, her professional composure shattered. "Good?" Vance finally croaked, the words scraping out of his throat. "Young man, Marcus, that is, he couldn't finish. He was staring at the heir to a kingdom he didn't know existed, a kingdom he had just publicly mocked. Panic, cold and slick, began to replace the initial shock. Damage control, survival. The instincts of a lifelong banker kicked in, albeit frantically. He forced his face into a new expression, one that tried to marry reverence with the grotesque. Remnants of his former joviality. It came out as a pained, twitching grimace. "Please," he said, his voice an octave higher than usual. "Please come with me. To my office. We must discuss this in privacy." He gestured toward a sweeping staircase that led to the upper floors, the domain of partners and private wealth. Marcus, overwhelmed and guided by a deep-seated instinct to obey authority figures in suits, simply nodded and pulled his card from the terminal. The screen went black, but the image of those 10 digits was burned into the retina of everyone present. As Marcus moved to follow Vance, his squeaking sneakers were the only sound. The journey to the top floor was a silent, surreal elevator ride. Vance stood ramrod straight, avoiding eye contact, sweat beading on his temple. Marcus watched the floor numbers light up, each one taking him further from the world he knew. Vance's office was a corner suite with a breathtaking view of the city. It was larger than Marcus's entire apartment. Leather-bound books lined the walls, and a massive oak desk held a single sleek computer. "Sit, please sit," Vance urged, pulling out a plush client chair for Marcus. The boy sat, sinking into the soft leather, feeling even smaller. "Can I get you anything? Water, juice?" A soda? Vance was practically wringing his hands. No, thank you, Marcus whispered. Vance sat behind his desk, a fortress now feeling like a cardboard shield. He steepled his fingers, trying to regain control. Marcus, that account, it's very special, very old. It was established by the founder of this bank, Alistair Blackwell, over a century ago. It's a legacy trust, meant to pass to a designated heir under specific conditions. The bank itself has been its steward, its manager. I had no idea the heir was you. He swallowed hard. The card was sent to you? Marcus nodded. In the mail, 3 days ago. And your mother? Your father? Marcus looked down at his dirty fingers. My mom's a cleaner. She works nights. I don't know my dad. Vance's mind raced, connecting invisible dots. Alistair Blackwell had been a notorious eccentric, a man of immense wealth and no known children. There were rumors, of course, always rumors in old families, affairs with actresses, secret liaisons, offspring born on the wrong side of the tracks. This boy, this Marcus Elijah Thorne, must be a descendant from one of those hidden lines. The trust's protocols had somehow been triggered, identifying him as the rightful heir. The implications were staggering. The account didn't just hold money. It held controlling interest in the bank itself. It held dormant patents, deed boxes to properties across the globe, art collections stored in Swiss vaults. This 12-year-old boy, who couldn't wash the dirt from his face, now owned in essence the very building they were sitting in, and Reginald Vance had laughed at him. The terror returned, sharp and acidic. Marcus, Vance began, choosing his words with the care of a man defusing a bomb. This is a great responsibility. An immense fortune. You're very young. The bank. We would be honored to continue to manage these assets for you, to guide you. It was the pitch he gave to every wealthy client. Let us handle the complexity. You enjoy the benefits. But this was different. This was about averting catastrophe. For the bank and for himself. Marcus was silent for a long time, looking out the window at the city sprawling below. He thought of his mother coming home at dawn, her hands raw from cleaning chemicals. He thought of the landlord threatening eviction. He thought of the empty refrigerator. He looked back at Vance, at the man's expensive suit and desperate eyes. I want to buy my building, Marcus said, his voice gaining a sliver of strength. Vance blinked. Your building? The one I live in, 341 East 104th Street. So my mom doesn't have to worry about the rent. And I want to fix the plumbing. Vance almost laughed again, but it would have been a hysterical broken sound. The boy's first instinct with $1 billion was to secure hot water for his tenement. Of course, Marcus. That can be arranged easily. It's a very modest aspiration. And, Marcus continued, looking directly at Vance, I want him to help me. He pointed past Vance, through the glass wall of the office, to the lobby below. From this height, they could see the reception area. A young, serious-looking man in a simple, inexpensive suit was now talking to the flustered receptionist, showing her his identification. He had entered just after the commotion. He was a junior financial advisor, low on the totem pole, probably here to deliver a routine report. But he was the only person in the lobby earlier who hadn't laughed. When Vance had been performing his cruel comedy, this young man had looked away, uncomfortable, focusing on his tablet. His name tag, just visible from the office, read, David Chen. Vance followed Marcus's gaze. David Chen, the quiet, diligent kid from the financial modeling department? Him, Vance sputtered. Marcus, David he's very junior. I or one of our senior partners would be far better equipped to serve your needs. Marcus shook his head. It was a small, firm movement. He didn't laugh. Those 3 words, quietly spoken, hit Reginald Vance with more force than any boardroom reprimand ever had. They were an indictment and a decree. In that moment, Vance understood that the old order was gone. The invisible line Marcus had crossed that morning hadn't just been breached. It had been erased. And on the new map that was being drawn, Reginald Vance was already in the wrong territory. Down in the lobby, unaware that his life was about to change forever, David Chen wondered what had caused the strange, tense atmosphere. He would soon find out. And remember, for more stories that explore the unexpected, turns of life where kindness and truth intersect. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, Kindness True Stories. Your support helps us bring more such narratives to light. The directive from the top was unprecedented, seismic, and absolute. The chairman of Blackwell and Associates, a man who answered to no one, had been summoned from his golf course in the Hamptons after a frantic, coded call from Reginald Vance. He now stood in his own penthouse office, looking not at Marcus, but at the digital replica of the trust agreement on his screen, his face ashen. The protocols were authentic. The air was verified by the system's own ancient, unalterable logic. The dirty child fidgeting in the chairman's own custom-made chair was, legally and irrevocably, the principal beneficiary of the Blackwell Legacy Trust. The bank's entire existence was, in a way, a subsidiary. The chairman, a man named Sterling, was made of colder, harder stuff than Vance. He saw not just the threat, but the opportunity. The narrative could be controlled. The story could be shaped. "Marcus," Sterling said, his voice a calm, smooth baritone, "welcome home." The phrase felt alien in the sterile office. "We are here to serve. Your wish regarding Mr. Chen will be honored. He will be assigned as your personal liaison, reporting directly to this office." With a flick of his wrist, David Chen's career was catapulted into the stratosphere. An hour later, David sat across from Marcus in a small, private conference room, a pot of untouched sparkling water between them. David was terrified, but his fear was different from Vance's. His was the fear of monumental responsibility, of getting it wrong for this quiet, watchful boy who held empires in his bank account. "Marcus," David began, "my name is David. Mr. Sterling and Mr. Vance have asked me to help you. But I want you to know I work for you, not them. What would you like to do first?" Marcus repeated his wish. "My building, 341 East 104th. David didn't flinch. He didn't call it modest. He simply opened his tablet. "Let's do that." What followed was a masterclass in discreet, staggering financial power. David, with the unlimited authority of the trust behind him, made 2 calls. By that afternoon, a shell corporation, established years ago as part of the trust's diverse holdings, had made a full cash, well over asking price offer to the absentee, landlord of Marcus's dilapidated tenement. The offer was accepted before the sun set. The second call was to the city's most prestigious and discreet contractors. At dawn the next day, as Marcus's mother, Leticia, slept after her night shift, a convoy of unmarked vans pulled up. Not with eviction notices, but with teams of plumbers, electricians, and carpenters. They fixed the plumbing, the wiring, the broken stairs. They worked with respectful silence, instructed to cause no disruption, to answer no questions. They were simply municipal workers doing urgent repairs. Letitia Thorne awoke to the sound of gushing, clean water from her kitchen tap for the first time in years. She wept. Marcus watched her, a small, secret smile on his face. He hadn't told her yet. He needed to understand it himself first. In the following weeks, under David's careful guidance, Marcus began to learn, not about derivatives and short-selling, but about the nature of the legacy he now held. The trust wasn't just a bank account. It was a network. It owned the patent for a water purification system used in half the world. It held the deeds to social housing projects in 3 European capitals. It funded anonymously dozens of scholarships and food banks. Alistair Blackwell, it turned out, had been a secret radical, a man who believed wealth was a tool for systemic repair, not just personal aggrandizement. The bank that bore his name had become its opposite, but the trust had waited, patient and potent, for its true heir. Marcus's instructions became simple, human, and devastatingly effective. He asked David to find the best doctors for his friend Mrs. Gable's arthritis. He asked for the bodega on the corner, run by Mr. and Mrs. Patel, who'd fed him credit more than once, to be debt-free and have its refrigeration upgraded. He asked for a full ride, scholarship fund in the name of his 5th-grade teacher, Mr. Henderson, who'd believed in him. Each request was executed with blinding efficiency and total anonymity. Marcus didn't want statues or headlines. He wanted results. Back at Blackwell and Associates, Reginald Vance was a ghost in his own office. He had been reassigned to oversee the digitization of pre-1950s paper files in the basement. Archive, a polite form of exile. Every morning he passed David Chen's new office, a corner suite larger than his own, where the young advisor now met with heads of state and CEOs, all seeking an audience with the mysterious power behind the trust. Vance's frozen smile from that first morning had melted into a permanent, grim rictus of regret. One evening, 6 months after that fateful day, Marcus and David sat on the newly repaired fire, escape of 341 East, until 4th, eating slices of pizza from the now thriving Patels. Bodega, the neighborhood hadn't been transformed into a gleaming paradise. That wasn't the goal, but a quiet, solid dignity had taken root. Repairs were made. Jobs were created. Hope was a tangible currency. "The board is requesting a meeting again," David said softly. "They want to discuss long-term investment strategy for the trust's core assets." Marcus took a bite of pizza, looking at the city lights twinkling in the distance. The very towers that had once seemed so impenetrable. "Tell them the strategy is the same," he said. "We look for the people who don't laugh. We find the things that are broken and fix them. We remember where we came from." He wasn't just a kid with a bank card anymore. He was Marcus Elijah Thorne, the keyholder. He had crossed the invisible line and discovered it was an illusion all along. The real division wasn't between those inside the tower and those outside. It was between those who used what they had to build walls and those who used it to build bridges. The golden light of the morning sun now shone on both sides of the glass, because one boy with dirty fingers and a clean heart had checked his balance and in doing so, rebalanced the scales, if just a little, for everyone around him. Thank you for joining Marcus on his journey. If this story reminded you the truth, and kindness can be the most powerful currencies of all, please show your support. Like, share and subscribe to my channel, Kindness True Stories, for more tales where the human spirit shines brightest against the odds. Your engagement helps us continue to share these important narratives.